So absolutely essential, absolutely necessary. Okay, and know that, right? So they know that, and you should know that. Their education goes deeper into the medications that the pharmacy dispenses. And I'm gonna give you an example of what I mean. Now, a lot of people will assume that a pharmacy technician wants to be a pharmacist. No, 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 no. Hey y'all, glad you came. I'm Monique. Welcome or welcome back. Today we are talking about the differences between a pharmacy technician and a pharmacist. We're going to talk about this in three categories. The first category being the education, the second category being the salary, and the third one will be the career outcomes. Okay, so we'll start with education. Now, when it comes to a pharmacy technician, there are three ways in which someone can make their way up to becoming a certified pharmacy technician. The first way is going to be getting a job at a retail pharmacy. Now, not all retail pharmacies require a certification. That's a way for you to kind of, get your feet wet in the pharmacy. You can assist by being a cashier and really doing things around the front of the pharmacy to help the pharmacy out in that capacity. And so you get exposed to the pharmacy without being certified just yet, right? That's one way. The second way is once you've decided that, yes, I want to be a certified pharmacy technician, depending on the company that you work for, they may or may not sponsor you to go ahead and get your pharmacy technician books and take some classes and then, take your certification test. So I know that's how I became certified. So I did on-the-job training. I worked in the retail pharmacy first, got my feet wet, decided I wanted to be certified. They sent me to a few classes. I got a book, some flashcards, studied, took the test, and passed, right? So that might be the route that you choose to take as well. It's the most inexpensive route because I was able to do that at no charge to myself. And essentially, you're basically getting, on-the-job training and you're getting paid while you are learning. So that is that avenue. The third avenue of education to become a certified pharmacy technician is to actually attend a school, maybe like a community college or a local trade school or technical school, where they offer a program that is usually no longer than 1 year that allows you to, study in order to pass your certification test. Now, I will say that between all three, I know that it's a popular question as to which one do I think is better. Well, like I mentioned, I think the on-the-job is really good because it's of no cost to the person. However, I do think that if one wants to have, an education about both hospital and retail pharmacy, in one go, then that is something that you may want to look into as far as a program is concerned, because a program is going to go a little bit deeper on some of the medications and some of the things that go along or go on at a hospital pharmacy. What I'm saying is you'll get more education about both the hospital setting and the retail setting and the medications if you're actually in a program, like a school program at one of these, community or technical colleges, right? So you have to figure out the route that you want and figure out the route, that's best for your current lifestyle. Okay. So that's education on the pharmacy technician side. And I'll just say this, that once you are certified, you can keep your certification as long as you continue to keep up with your continuing education credits, usually about every 2 years. At the recording of this video, that could change, but I've been a pharmacy technician for over 15 years and I have to renew my license and my certification pretty much biannually, okay? So there you have it. That's all the education with pharmacy technicians. Now, a pharmacist. A pharmacist, if you don't know, now you know, is actually a doctor. And you may not know that because they usually don't require you to say, hey, Dr. So-and-so, but they are a doctor. They do have that degree, especially here in the United States. And at the recording of this video, I always have to say at the recording of this video because I do not know when you'll be watching this, but at the time of the recording of this video in the United States, the majority of pharmacists are doctors of pharmacy, okay? All right, so what does that mean education-wise? What that means for them is that they typically are attending a university And that usually spans from anywhere from 6 to 8 years, depending on if they specialize in a clinical setting, right? So they do go to school for quite a long time. And what are they learning while they're in school, right? So the difference is, with a pharmacy technician, you're learning some basics, the brand, the generics, the expiration dates, as far as how to tell what those are, NDCs, inventory, stocking, different things like that. You may learn a few things about the medications, but not very much, That's not really your avenue, right, in that situation. However, a pharmacist is completely different. They do have to know the chemistry makeup of the medications. They do have to know the most basic interactions when it comes to medications, because they are there to protect the public, and they are there to really make sure that patients are not taking medications that interact with one another, right? And to really help the patient avoid any type of adverse effect, essentially, right? To help them understand the pros and cons of the medication. They are there to consult the patient. So their education is deep. Their education goes deeper into the medications that the pharmacy dispenses. And I'm going to give you an example of what I mean. So let's say that a patient, has lisinopril. Now, initially, lisinopril, what does that mean to you? If you're a pharmacy technician and you're just now working in the pharmacy, as a cashier, you may not know what that means. It could just be a word to you, right? But to a pharmacist, automatically, they know that's for high blood pressure. And to someone who's been working in pharmacy for quite some time, like myself, I know that's for high blood pressure, right? And so, or hypertension, however you want to say it. And so with lisinopril, okay, so as a technician of many years, yes, I can tell you that is for hypertension. But ask me if I know the mechanisms and the chemical makeup of lisinopril. No, I don't. Ask me if I know how lisinopril works on the heart. What does it actually enable the heart to do other than lowering the blood pressure? No, I don't. I don't know how lisinopril interacts with our heart, the human heart, in order to lower the blood pressure. But the pharmacist does know that, because they do take quite a few courses in chemistry and biology, okay? So that's what I'm saying. It's like there are levels to this. So there's like your basic, and then there's like deep, and it needs to be deep, because they do hold a lot of responsibility and accountability. So a pharmacist is the last check and balance before a patient puts a medication into their body, okay? So you can see the importance of why they need to know what it is, what it does, and how it does it. All right, so that's the educational piece about pharmacists, and that's where they come out and graduate as doctors. Okay, that's it. That's all. So if you didn't know, you work with doctors. All right, the next thing is going to be the pay, because people always want to talk about the pay, right? So from what I just explained to you, you can already see why there is a major pay gap between a pharmacy technician and a pharmacist. The knowledge alone is the currency, right? So therefore, a pharmacy technician usually ranges anywhere from working full time, might I add, ranges anywhere from 20K to maybe 45K. It just depends on where you work, right? That's not terrible. It's all relative to your lifestyle, what you need, right? But that is the reality. But you have to also think about, what did you put into learning? Most likely, maybe in my case, I put in 6 weeks. I put in 6 weeks, essentially, and 6 weeks paid. Okay, so see what I'm saying? You gotta think, do some deep thinking. Like, okay, so you may make less, but you also are educated in less, right? Okay, so, and I'm not, saying anything is right or wrong. I'm just stating the facts so you know the differences. Okay, so the next thing is the pharmacist. Now remember, they've been in school from anywhere from 6 to 8 years, right? How much are they making? Well, typically when someone goes to school for that long, they typically come out making a salary that's anywhere from 5 to 6 digits. But I want you to also think deeply, because although they come out making 5 to 6 digits, usually closer to 6 digits, in salary per year, annually, what I'm speaking of, they also, unfortunately, not all the time, but most of the time, also come out with a hefty amount of school loan debts, okay? A lot of them do not work while they're in school because of the workload and the educational load, right? So you do the math. You may come out making $90,000 per year, but you also owe back $250,000. You see? So there's things to be considered here, right? Again, I'm not saying anything is right or wrong. I'm just giving you the facts and giving you the comparisons, okay? All right. So we know the pay. We know the pay gap. We understand why the pay gap exists. We also understand that most likely a pharmacy technician, most likely, not saying all the time, is probably in less debt than the pharmacist. But, you know, it just is what it is. It just depends. Everybody's situation is different, okay? So the next thing is a career outcome. I want to talk about that because that matters too. It matters about what you want to do for work. A lot of times if you're working every day, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, you want to enjoy your job, right? I'll be honest with you. I've worked with pharmacists for a long time. I think, you know, some of them like their job, right? But just like any other career, some of them may wish they have, you know, chosen something different. It just depends. But many times they are satisfied with what they chose to do. So, you know, and the same thing with technicians. Now, a lot of people will assume that a pharmacy technician wants to be a pharmacist. No. Absolutely not. The responsibility, the accountability, the amount of time that it takes for you to become a pharmacist, the sacrifice is not for everybody. It is not. So I even had someone ask me one time, they said, well, how come you didn't choose to go for pharmacist, but instead you chose nursing? And I said, I've never had an interest in being a pharmacist. I've never had an interest in looking at medications all day, sitting on my feet 8 hours, and looking at the computer nonstop. I like moving around, helping, talking, helping people. You know, that's more of my thing. And so nursing fits better. Now, I'll tell you this about nursing and pharmacists. They are very closely related. Pharmacists and nurses have some very strong similarities because a nurse is aware of how the medications work in the human body, and they are aware of some of the most basic interactions. So while a nurse still probably, well, I take that back. I'm going to say, depending on the nurse and where the nurse works, they could be close to a pharmacist's salary. So I'm just saying. Again, none of these things are right or wrong. I'm just sharing with you some of the facts and some of the comparisons, okay? So in all honesty, a pharmacy technician, to me, this is my opinion, is probably far more set up to be a nurse than an actual pharmacist. I'm just being completely honest. I know it's weird to say, but to be honest, I think so. I mean, because you already work with the doctor, you already are familiar with the medications, you already are doing the assisting work of helping the patient, you know, get better, right? And so I kind of feel like there are a lot of similarities. There truly are, you know, between a nurse and a pharmacy technician. And amazingly enough, there are a lot of similarities between a nurse and a pharmacist. Kind of interesting, huh? So anyway, the career outcome is interesting. So a pharmacist become burnt out. They can become very tired. They can become decision fatigue. You know, they have to really take care of themselves because they do have a very heavy load mentally because they are, again, they are the last person of check and balance before it goes in the patient's body. And so they are heavily responsible, okay? So that can come with a lot of mental strain, especially when you first start off. I will tell you this. I remember working with pharmacists when they first graduated from pharmacy school. And you can always tell the difference of a 10-year pharmacist and a 1-year pharmacist, because a 1-year pharmacist is going to take a lot of time to check. When you put out your medications to be checked, whether it's, you know, IVs in a hospital, or whether you have, you know, picked something off the shelves in the hospital, or whether you're in a retail setting and you counted your medications and sent them down, a new pharmacist, they're going to take some time. Because they are very afraid of making a mistake. And as well, they should be, okay? However, with time, with some experience under their belt, and with a good pharmacy technician, they get more comfortable and they move a lot quicker, which means that, your day can go a lot better, right? So if you're a pharmacy technician, comment below, or not. You just maybe just relate, mentally speaking. But yeah, I have seen that with my own two eyes. So anyway, yeah, the career outcome is interesting. It is. So it's something that somebody would really want to make sure they really want to do, right? Job shadowing, different things like that. Now, the career outcome of pharmacy technician, again, to me, it's very good. I mean, just like anything else, because you don't have to say that. You can move on to being something else, or you can, move on to working in a different setting. I feel like as a pharmacy technician, you can move around a lot easier than a pharmacist. So it would be more difficult for a pharmacist to work in both retail and hospital, but a pharmacy technician like myself, and like I already do, I work in both retail and hospital. Yeah. So, and to be honest, if I want to work in distribution, I can do that. I've done that before in the past. You can work in corporate. So you can move around, within your specialties, right? So there are different things to do. It's just that the most popular things are retail and hospital pharmacy. But if you're truly interested in like leveling up and different things like that, you can do that as a pharmacy technician. Now, for me, my career outcome was great. I think that, being a pharmacy technician has always been such a nice supplemental income. It's always been such a nice thing to do because there's always hours to be worked. I've usually only worked part-time or PRN, thankfully. But, that's what I'm saying. There's so much variety in what you can do. As far as technicians are concerned, if you get tired of working in the pharmacy, then you could go to retail, but I typically don't know anyone who gets tired of hospital then goes back to retail. I don't know. Maybe you do. But typically a hospital is just a lot more autonomy, a little bit more, freedom of movement, a little bit more space because you're, usually working around the entire hospital. So yeah, this is to me, in my opinion, it's a very cool job to be a pharmacy technician. Also, like the question says in the title, are you essential? Absolutely. You are absolutely essential. And the reason is because without pharmacy technicians, it will be a lot more pressure on a pharmacist. And unfortunately, they would be in more of a position to make mistakes, the very thing they don't want to do, if they did not have the support of good pharmacy technicians, right? So absolutely essential, absolutely necessary. Okay, and know that, right? So they know that, and you should know that. So yes, they're both cool jobs. Like I said, I think they are a well-kept secret, which is why I am here to share the information that I share. And that's that. So the career outcomes, can be what you want them to be. At any point, a technician can switch and become something else. At any point, a pharmacist could too. But remember, they've already spent 6 to 8 years in college, got some debt behind them. It might be a little bit more difficult for them to keep their lifestyle up if they switch. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, again, not right or wrong, just sharing the facts. Okay, so the whole purpose of me, like I said, sharing these videos is to really give you guys a look into the pharmacy world and to really help you guys, get the pharmacy job if that's what you want as a pharmacy technician. And that's why I create the pharmacy technician suite on my website for you guys to shop. There's some merch there. There are some resume templates there and different things like that. So that's always below the video if you guys want to shop that. If you already have shopped that in the past, thank you. I appreciate you. And please continue to share the videos with anyone that you think could benefit from the information shared here on this channel for pharmacy technicians. All right, guys, that's all I have for this video. If you guys have any questions or comments, as always, leave them below. And I will talk to you. I hope that you guys have a peaceful and productive rest of your day. And now I will talk to you on the next upload.